ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਤੇ ਜੀ ਆਇਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਤੇ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਹੈ। ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੰਡੇ ਦਾ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਅਕਸਰ ਹਰਜਾਪ ਸਿੰਘ ਭੰਗਲ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ। ਪਰ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਿ ਬਹੁਤਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਹੁਣ ਥੋੜ੍ਹੀਆਂ ਵੀਕਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਉਹ ਛੁੱਟੀ ਲੈਣਗੇ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਉਨਾ ਹੀ ਵਧੀਆ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਈਏ। ਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੁਛ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਹੀ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਏ ਹਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਵਾਲੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਫਾਇਦਾ ਹੋਊਗਾ, ਨੈਟਵਰਕਿੰਗ ਵਾਲੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਫਾਇਦਾ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਕੰਮ ਹੋਰ ਵਧਾ ਕੇ ਦੱਸ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ। ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਲੋਕ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨਵੇਂ ਕੰਮ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੰਮ ਆਪਣਾ ਵਧਾ ਕੇ ਦੱਸ ਸਕੀਏ, ਫਾਇਦਾ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੋ ਸਕੀਏ। ਅੱਜ ਦਾ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਅਸੀਂ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ 'ਚ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। So I'd like to welcome today's guest, Phil Berg, who is the Assistant National Director for BNI. Welcome to the show, Phil.
Thanks very much, Jag. Pleasure to be here.
Phil, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you currently do?
Well, currently I have a role in BNI, which is a referral organisation where I help local businesses and local business people to generate more income for them, their family, develop another way to do business, and basically help bring money into the local community. That's what I currently do.
So how do you exactly do that? What's involved?
Well, we form local groups of businesses. We invite many different business people, varying from professions to trades, to our business meetings. And we have a structured environment where we create a platform for people to develop and understand how to use networking as a form of basically generating more business and profit for their company and their family and the community.
When we talk about networking, a lot of people actually, they're afraid. They feel that, you know, networking is all very formal and there's a lot of events that take place that are probably not very organised or structured.
Sure.
So you go to a networking event or an organisation and you're kind of afraid to approach people.
Of course. Well, listen, when we're talking to our children and when we were children, the first thing our parents said or rammed home to us was, don't speak to strangers. And as we become adults, the thing we encourage people is to speak to strangers. So it's very much out of our comfort zones. But it's a great skill to develop, to be able to walk into a room of people you don't know in any situation, business or social, and be able to be comfortable in that scenario. That's going to help with great skills in life.
How would one develop these skills? Because going into a room full of people,
sure,
there's many people out there who just don't have the confidence, the personal, you could call it skills, or just feel afraid to be able to do that. They're not sure what kind of reaction they're going to get from the other person.
Yeah, and I think that's very natural. I think it starts with desire, and I think people have to be real. There's not just one way to do business. It is uncomfortable to speak to strangers, but the fact is, unless new people meet us, and unless we develop relationships with others, then for me, it means we're trying on our own instead of getting help. And building relationships and getting help means that collectively, it's got to be easier and better. So for me, networking is hugely important.
How would you generate business from networking directly? Give us an example.
I think people have to have a reality check on the time scale. So I'm sure you've walked into a room and you've been speaking to somebody new, particularly at networking events, and the first thing you feel, and it's uncomfortable, is that they're trying to sell to you, that they may never see you again. So you just feel uncomfortable and you just want to say to them, you know, you're in my space. And I think the reality is networking is something we've probably all done for years without knowing, but structured networking, when you have a desire to improve something, you'll learn how to improve it. And I think for me, BNI gives the platform to develop that confidence and develop the idea of it's okay to speak to people, but learning how to. So practice, well, perfect practice makes perfect.
Within BNI, I understand that there's a lot of training that's provided to actually help people to reach their goals or help them to actually be more confident. What kind of training could you expect from BNI?
Well, it has to start off with goals, first of all. I find from experience that a lot of people desire success, but they don't actually picture what success is. They don't know what success is, and yet they kind of somehow want it. So I think the first thing is with goals, it's what do you want? In BNI, for example, we teach people how to present effectively, how to feel more confident in speaking to strangers, how to be effective in speaking to people, understanding what's delivered and what's heard is what's heard really is completely different to what's said. So it's that presentation skills, how to speak in front of people. That's a big scare. Allegedly, the #1 fear in the world is public speaking. So that's a great skill. We teach people how to network effectively, which, as I've said before, literally means being able to walk into a room of people that you don't know and just feel a little bit more confident of why to speak to strangers in that environment, how to do so, how to be interesting to them, and not to feel uncomfortable or not worthy, unworthy. So we teach presentation skills, we teach how to network, we teach how to have business meetings that actually generate in qualified business rather than just let's chat and a little bit fluffy. So for me, BNI is very structured and it suits professional business people. And that's my experience of it.
With other networking events that you visit,
Yes.
Most of the time you would go to a networking event, you may meet somebody and you never see them again.
Yes.
So there's no real sort of reason to kind of be loyal. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but why would you want to refer business to them? You're never going to see them again.
Sure.
And other people's attitude might be is that we're going to meet this person and we're going to try and get as much business as possible. So they'll try and go for the kill.
Yeah. I remember years ago, I was at a networking event and a young lad, which they're all getting younger nowadays anyway, after the event was literally walking around the room and pretty much throwing business cards at everybody that would take one. And I tried to guide him and I just said, look, you know, you're doing this wrong. If this is what you're going to do, people will think of you in a bad way. And I'm a great believer of reputation is what people say about us when we're not there. So I could see somebody doing it wrong, but he didn't know any different. His answer was typical. If I give enough of these out, I'll get something from it. And what I was trying to guide him was, if you could give less of them out and get more from it, surely that's got to be better. So I think people have mismanaged expectations. You're right. I may not see you again. So let's try and hit on you now and throw enough mud at the wall and some will stick. Whereas the true reality of effective networking is to understand that you build relationships. And that can be frustrating because you feel you're not getting the income quick enough. But if your starting line arrives a bit later, but your finish line arrives a bit sooner, that has to long term be more beneficial for you. But people don't understand that, and that's one of our goals, to help people manage expectations.
So it's kind of like planting a seed and then waiting for it.
Very much so, and you can affect how quickly the seed grows, but I think for me one of the golden rules is nobody likes to meet somebody and feel they're being sold to in that opening conversation. You know, if you're going to go from A to Z, I believe you've got to go from B to C to D to E, and along that route things will start happening.
Within the BNI policies and procedures, building up relationships is very important. What other ways can you generate business? I mean, yes, you know, you network with people. When you join BNI, are you obliged to help other members there, or do you just expect leads from other members?
I think people in life are very naive if they feel they can become part of anything and just get. We have a philosophy and it's givers gain. The reality is, if I help you, you're more likely to think of helping me. It's not my given right, but you know, if I am helping you and I'm of good character and over time you find me trustworthy and reliable, the reality is you'd like to help me. And collectively, we can do as a group of business people, we can do a lot more for each other and our families and our community than trying to do it individually. So we encourage relationship building and encourage meeting separately from our meetings so that people can get to know you as a person, get to trust you. With respect, if I'm going to introduce you to one of my contacts, the only thing that's at risk really is my reputation. And for most of us, that's hugely important. So I have to feel I know you, I have to feel I trust you, and I just have to feel you're a good person so that I'm very comfortable introducing you to my contacts, knowing that I'm helping them and I'm helping you. So we see it as a gift, helping people with introductions.
I'd like to talk a little bit more about how BNI is structured and how the meetings are actually held.
Sure.
But before we do that, what does BNI stand for?
Business Network International.
So it's a global organization.
Oh yes. Now we started in 1985, so we're not a network amateur. We're actually a 28-year-old global organization. In fact, we are officially 10 times larger than the next 2 referral organizations in the world put together. So after 28 years, we've had a lot of learning, and we have learning to go, but we are a very, very accomplished company, and it's very, very suitable for good quality local business people that like structure.
Where was it founded?
In America. Our founder is a gentleman called Dr. Ivan Meisner. So it started in America in 1985.
So what was his thought process before launching this? Like he just got together and thought, I'll just get a few people together to pass leads to? How did it all start?
Yeah, great question. Well, as in any great business that we see nowadays, usually it's a very, very simple concept that got developed, and this one was exactly the same. Ivan was a management consultant, and he lost one of his major clients. And as with most of us, if we lost our major client, it's not the icing on the cake, it's the cake. And his immediate concern was, how do I replenish this business? Now, the people that love us most and trust us most and would be willing to help us most, generally friends, family, and yet these are the people that we don't educate or train how to help us. So if you think about your friends and your family, sometimes it's nice not to talk work. So a weekend barbecue, how's your week been? The answer would generally be, yeah, you know, it's good, or it's bad, or it's, you know, so on. And then my next question is, oh, when are the sausages ready? And we don't actually ever generally sit down with people that love us and say, listen, I think you may be able to help me, and I'm sure I can help you, but I really don't know about your business. I have an idea of what you do, but I don't really know the detail, the type of clients you can help, how you can help them, how I can approach them for you. So based on that kind of idea, Ivan got a group of friends around a table, the people that love him, know him and trust him, and vice versa, and just simply said, look, we don't help each other, we don't know how, so let's develop the knowledge of how we can do this. And from there, it developed into business, but it wasn't an initial business plan. So from there, it just grew and grew. Then it turned into a business opportunity. And from there, we have a one member per category strategy, if you like. So the idea is yourself, as a quality estate agent, you are in one of our existing chapters, and that means our full support is to help you. We're not interested in helping anybody else in that particular group. Sure, we have other groups, and they help each other. So it grew across America, and then in 1996, the concept and the franchise went to Canada, and then the UK, and now we're in over 56 countries, and we have over 160,000 businesses that use the BNI product to generate income for themselves and their families and the local community. And that's exciting. We want to give back to the community. That's exciting.
That's an amazing concept, and the way that the business has grown is incredible. So it's in how many countries did you say?
It's in 56 countries at this moment. I think people tend to feel it's just the myth or the perception outside of BNI. Some people tend to think, oh, it's just another networking thing. We are world leaders. So BNI, for me, it leaves everything else behind. And I'm not criticizing anything else. It's not right for everybody. But I think if you're serious about your business, then you will have structure in your life. You will have goals. You'll make them happen. So that's where we have our business leveled.
Is networking just for sole traders or small businesses, or do you think BNI networking is suitable for everyone?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I do believe BNI in particular, but all networking, is suitable and required, in my opinion, for every business, but it's not necessary for every person. I think it's an attitude thing. If you're going to get involved in anything, in my opinion, I think you've got to embrace it, accept that you may not know how to do it properly, but there'll be people that are willing to help you, and just go with the flow. And if you have that kind of attitude, I think in anything, you'll become more accomplished at it.
Give us an example of the sorts of businesses that are involved with BNI.
Sure. Very varied. If you like, in one particular group, you'll have a dentist, you'll have a solicitor, you'll have a car detailer. I've met one gentleman that is a tunnel maker. Wow. And he actually he has a business where he charges €1 million per metre to build tunnels.
Wow.
So networking, I think a lot of people need to understand, we've always networked forever, but you can either do it with structure, which gives you different results, or you can do it not knowing what you're doing and just rely on luck either way. So I think networking is a necessity.
So you say measuring the results. So within BNI, results are measured on how much business is actually produced.
Absolutely. I repeat, we want our members to be successful. If our clients are not successful, then we don't have a business. And how do you measure success? Now, many of our members will have experienced a journey of self-development. Nobody becomes a member to develop further, but it is a product, it's a byproduct, and when members have been in it a while, they actually realise that their personal development just gets better and better. I don't think many people necessarily initially become a member of BNI to develop their confidence, and yet we see many of our members where they become more and more confident as the weeks and months and years go by, even into their personal lives. It's made a major difference. So I think for me, you have to set goals in your life. If you don't set goals in your life, and it's not easy to do, but if you don't set goals in your life, then why are we doing it? And it's very easy, as I have done, to fall into the trap of this month's mortgage, the children are getting older, schools, etc. And we'll worry about later in life, later. And I've done that, but having gone to bed at 30 one day and woken up at 50, it goes very quickly. So you do need set goals, and you do need to measure those goals. And in BNI, as far as we're concerned, we're very supportive in helping you create them. And financially, we're able to know exactly how much business is passed. We're also able to support any member who is struggling to pass referrals or receive referrals. So it's in our interest to help them with their success and support them.
That's great. So if a member genuinely is struggling, obviously they may need education on how to produce their referrals, so they can actually benefit from advice and training courses, maybe how to develop their skills on getting referrals?
Absolutely, and I think they should want to and embrace that. BNI's responsibility is to educate our members how to generate income for their family and the community. So we do put on these workshops. Initially, upon being accepted into a group, you would be allocated a mentor. The mentor would generally be a very experienced member, and with their heart and soul, they would want to help a new member because of the experience that they had themselves in their early days. So it's very much a support. We have a very good quality support mechanism, yes.
As compared with other networking events or organisations, should I say, many of the people that participate are not really vetted. No sort of background checks or anything like that are conducted.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to walk into a networking event and say, well, that person seems great, I'm going to use him, or I'm going to refer this person to a friend of mine.
Sure.
I wouldn't confident.
And nor should you. But I think that goes back to the mindset of when you're going to a networking event. If you're going to go there to sell something to somebody, you're going to get it wrong and you're going to damage your own reputation. If you're going there with a view of starting some new relationships that over time can flourish, I think then you can't get it wrong. So I think it's the mindset of what are you trying to achieve when you go there.
Phil, it's been a great first segment of the show. I'd like to talk to you about the structure of the meetings and how the actual meetings work and business is generated. But first, we're going to go for a short break and we'll be right back. ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਹੈ। ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ ਹਰਜਾਪ ਸਿੰਘ ਭੰਗਲ ਅੱਜ ਨਹੀਂ ਆ ਸਕਦੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਆਪਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਥੋੜ੍ਹੀਆਂ ਵੀਕਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਵਾਂਗੇ। Before the break, we were talking about networking, and I'm joined by Phil Berg. Thank you, Phil, once again.
Thank you.
Phil, we were talking about BNI and the general history and how it kind of works.
Yes.
I'd like to get into more detail about that. But during the break, I was just thinking about networking organizations in general and the kind of view that I had about networking before I joined BNI myself. A lot of people look at networking as the organizations might just be trying to make money from you.
Sure.
A lot of people get their back up and think, well, there must be something in it for them, more than me. So
Sure.
I'm not going to do it. I know enough people of my own. Why do I want to join a business network when I've got loads of friends? But as you rightly said, my friends are not educated. Why network and why BNI?
Well, first of all, perception is an amazing thing, isn't it? I mean, if the world lived purely on perception, wouldn't we have far more challenges than reality? So accepting people think as they think, and all I would say to anybody is go and have a look. It frustrates me a lot when people talk about wanting more business. And I might say something like, hey, listen, come and have a look at a BNI meeting. Just come and have a look. And, oh, it's too early, or they'll come up with all the excuses, which is really their fear of the end result. Just come and have a look and see how it goes. The reality of networking is that a lot of people boast that their business is on recommendation. Indeed, I boast a lot my business is on recommendation. But the reality is most individuals and most companies don't use that recommendation. They don't use it as a strategy. It's a given. In fact, most people do get recommended, so it's really of no surprise. The fact is with recommended business, if you don't do anything with it, you're just relying on pure luck. You should do a good job. You should get recommended. But all that means is somebody's phoning and speaking about you today, but somebody else isn't speaking about you for maybe 2 months. So we're all looking at an edge and different ways to do business, and networking can create a platform where, as I said before, you can be proactive on gaining business opportunities rather than just wait or be reactive.
Why did you join BNI yourself? I mean, was you a BNI member yourself? Do you have your own business?
I have a separate business now. I teach people how to retire quicker. I help people increase sales and develop their sales teams. I basically increase profit. But my history is carpet and flooring. I'm actually a failed footballer. I was on Spurs books for a few years. And I was working part-time in a carpet and flooring company with no intention to stay in that business. As one of the millions of faces that never made it in football, I literally had to turn around one day to the carpet and flooring shop and say, I'll stay with you full time, because I basically had really thought I would make it at football, never would have done, and basically stayed in the carpet business. And at that stage, as an ambitious person, I wanted to have my own business, as people do, and I had a drive and ambition to learn the business, which was a great people business. You're in many people's houses, and I was invited along by a friend of a friend in January 1997, and I believe that any entrepreneur should look at anything that's out there and make their decisions afterwards. So I was invited along by coincidence to one of these BNI meetings. I think it was BNI at the time because at that time I don't think anything else existed. There are lots of other networking organisations now. Most of them would have been started by perhaps people that have found structured networking not to their taste, if you like, because BNI is not right for every person. So I got invited to my very first meeting, and if I'm honest, I was way out of my comfort zone. Always been a chatterbox, but completely raw, not understanding when to speak and what to say. So my enthusiasm would take me ahead of my brain, if you like. I walked into my first meeting. It was a typical brand new launch meeting of a BNI group, as we have today. We would tend to have 80 to 100 local businesses in the room, basically looking at locking out their competition. So I went into this room and saw a lot of people in there and was feeling uncomfortable. The first person spoke to me and introduced himself to me and offered me a seat, and then the presentation began. I remember even today, so this was nearly 18 years ago, I remember feeling it was very structured. It was very, I'll help you, you'll help me, and it was very alien to the way I've always built relationships. And I have to say, at the time, I wasn't really going to proceed. But then there is an opportunity for everybody to stand up and educate all the rest of the room how we can help. And this gentleman, who also was like myself, not a member, stood up and said, I'm a carpet and flooring specialist. So if you can imagine, at that moment, my ears pricked up and I kind of looked at him. And when he named his company, he'd only been in the industry for 6 weeks. And I'd been in the carpet and flooring industry for 22 years at that stage. So if you can imagine, at that moment, I thought, you know, you're not a specialist and you're standing up in front of all these people claiming to be. And that was the 5 seconds that completely changed my life. Because at that moment, I thought to myself, I don't know if BNI is ever going to grow. I don't know if there's anything in this, but if there is, he's not having it. And I made my decision not to become a member of BNI, but to stop him becoming a member of BNI. And I have to say, absolutely, as my face changes, 18 years later, that was the best business decision I ever made in my whole business career, but accepted that I made it for the wrong reason. And I then grew to understand it, and I then grew how to use BNI, and it became a major, major part of my business and a major part of my life and my style.
That's a phenomenal story. I don't think many people actually have experiences like that, especially from networking events. So you locked your competitor out of that BNI meeting.
Completely. And truthfully, my attitude at that time was stop this person having it, gain one order, which would cover my membership fee, and leave. And I have to say, 18 years later, I'm very privileged. One of my responsibilities, I'm literally asked to travel the world, and I'm helping other countries within BNI help their members by generating more income for, again, them, their families, and the community, which people don't realise what we're trying to achieve within the local business communities.
Could you have seen yourself all those years ago doing what you're doing today?
Never. Never.
And what about the carpet and flooring business?
I was very fortunate. That was sold in December 2007, and that was sold to a visitor that came to one of our BNI meetings, liked what he saw, applied for membership and became a member. He was an interior designer, and within a few weeks of us meeting, Danny was talking about, would I be interested in selling my business? And this was now 32 years later. I realized that I had a passion in helping people, and I wasn't looking to sell my business, but there was an opportunity here to completely change career path, and I'm now very fortunate that really all I'm doing is just helping people along their journey, and that's unbelievable. It's fantastic to give back.
That's excellent. Going back to when you were invited to the BNI meeting, I'd like to talk about how BNI works in the UK, or works worldwide, should I say, because it's a uniform structure that is followed all around the world, right?
It is.
So how was you invited? What times are the meetings held?
Okay. Well, I was invited, as I said, by a friend of a friend. The meetings are held at different times, but the majority of our meetings, the official part of the meeting is held between 7 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. Same time, same place every single week. The idea of that is so that we can basically put it into our business routine. As you become experienced within BNI, you realise that it's not something you're going to. It's just another income-producing product in your own business portfolio. So once you start using BNI in exactly the same way that you would use your business, then it becomes just part of your working routine. Why that time of day is, whilst we respect that people do work early in the mornings, if you basically cater for this as your business meeting of the week, then it doesn't really interfere with your normal day's process. In fact, if anything, it's probably one of the few opportunities that most businesses in the week use for marketing. So it doesn't interfere with the main day's work. Most members are normally there by 6:15 in the morning, and they're away by about 9 o'clock, but it's a great way to do business.
What would you say to individuals who would say either that's far too early or I've got to go to work?
Yeah. Well, I'm a great believer of what I call know the audience. If someone thinks something, then I respect that that's their thoughts. And our job is to, if you like, help them change their minds, help them understand the why. I thought it was far too early in the morning. And like most entrepreneurs, we're opinionated, if you like. So we have our mindset. But I think most good people are willing to listen. And I, for one, I'm definitely the type of person where if you gave me an alternative view, there are many times when I would say, you know, I never thought of it like that. So I understand people thinking that. But we've found that after 28 years, it's still the best time for our members to generate more income. If we thought there was a better time of day to do it, we would have found it by now.
So it's a proven strategy. It works.
Yes, it is.
And that's why it's grown global.
Yeah.
Tell us about how the meetings actually work, how the structure is from the start to the finish, and maybe possibly compare it with other networking events or organisations.
Sure. Okay. Well, I do feel that there's space for everybody in the world. I've personally experienced that the difference for me and for our members with BNI is the structure and the policies. We create policies for our members. For example, yes, we are required to help the group by spending time referring each other once trust and relationships have passed. But it's actually a requirement, give us gain. We can't sit here and wait for the business. In many ways, I say to my members, your responsibility is to come in and help others. And if you deserve it, you'll be surrounded with people that will come and help you in return. So the structure is such that the members run their own chapter, their own group. But we at BNI spend many, many hours every year, hundreds of hours every year, training the members how to follow our structured agenda. There's a 20-point agenda that the groups follow between 7 and 8:30 every single week.
So everyone has an opportunity to educate their fellow members about their business.
Yes, they do.
And they pass referrals within the chapter every week?
Yes, I mean, obviously there might be the odd week where you just haven't got a referral to pass, but hopefully there are many ways to help the group. There are referrals that could be passed, introductions as we call them, and all of these are qualified. They're not leads, these are opportunities to do business, and we ensure that if I'm to introduce you to somebody, they're actually expecting your call. So it's not a lead or, you know, I hear this is going on. Also, we have many, many chapters now at 50 quality local business people and 60 plus as well. And when you get a group of combined local business people at that number, the amount of business, we have groups now passing £3-4 million worth of confirmed business every single year. And that's not allowing for spin-off business after that.
That's amazing. Talking about referrals, I've been a member of BNI for about 14 years.
Wow.
We see referral slips passed within the chapter, and it's great. You've got 4 or 5 slips. You get recognised for being a notable networker.
Yes.
How do we know that these leads or opportunities to do business are genuine?
Great question. As said before, really, we are structured. It's accountable. Everything is recorded. So when a referral slip is given out, so for example, please tell me a great introduction for yourself would be which industry?
It would be wills and probate.
Fantastic, okay. So I know somebody good in wills and probate, and I personally know you, and I do know that you're a good quality company. So therefore, I'd be very happy to introduce you to my contact, because it's a gift I'm giving them, somebody I know and trust, and basically that's helping you and it's helping them. So imagine in your education opportunity, you'd stand up and ask for a particular wills and probate company. I would be writing down and listening to who you're looking for. I would spend a little bit of time contacting this person, ensuring before I get it wrong that I speak to you and say, how do I approach them? How do I excite them to take your call? So it's not just, let's just throw different phone calls at this. It really is a question of how to do this. On the basis they'll take your call because they trust my introduction, I will then write out a referral slip. I'll phone you, give you the phone number, they're expecting the call. I will then write out a referral slip, and at next week's meeting, in front of my peers, I can stand up proudly and say, this week I have an introduction and I have a referral and I have an introduction, etc., and put people together. That feels great. That is recorded. So we have a 3-part referral slip. So we have one of our leadership team members would record that information. So we know exactly how many referrals are passed and received, so we know how we can help you. We also have something called a referral reality check. So one of the 20 points on our agenda is the referral reality check. We then ask 2 members, randomly selected, to stand up, and we ask them 3 questions. The 3 questions asked is simply, was there a phone number and have you called? Of which they'll respond. The second question is, did the person take your call? Then the third, genuine opportunity to do business. So if, for whatever reason, the approach hasn't been made or the person hasn't taken the call, we'll have a quick conversation with the 2 members. We'll ensure that that gets reapproached during the week, and we'll bring it up the following week. So it is totally accountable and totally supportive. We don't want people just playing the game. That's not what good business people do.
Exactly. That was exactly the point I was making. It's really interesting. I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about how people educate their fellow members. But before that, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right after this. Our free break. ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰੀਦੀ ਹੈ, ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਮਿਲੇ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਗਿਆਨ ਵਧੇ। ਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਨੈਟਵਰਕਿੰਗ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਵਧਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ। Joining me once again for the final segment is Phil Berg. Phil, thank you once again. Phil, we're talking about BNI, and we've covered a huge part of the journey so far, and how the meetings are actually held. What I'd like to talk to you about is, during a meeting, there's many members in the room. How does a member educate their fellow colleagues on what they're actually looking for?
There are a few different opportunities. We encourage one-to-ones, which are business meetings away from the meeting. Many members arrive obviously earlier than maybe 6:30, 6:15, and again start building the relationship. So those are basically informal ways. At every single BNI meeting, every single member has the opportunity to speak for up to 60 seconds. And again, this is one of the skills we teach them, how to educate their fellow members during that 60 seconds on what they're looking for this week. So, for example, if I could help you, I would love to know the name of ideally the person you would like an introduction to. It'll be great if I knew the industry they're in and maybe their position, and also what you can do for them, so that the benefit statement, if you like, so that I can really get excited about phoning them and giving them you. And this is one of the skills we teach our members, and the platform we give them during the meeting.
That's fantastic. So it's not a case of standing up each week and saying, well, look, I'm an estate agent and I'm looking for people to sell houses, people who are looking to sell their houses. It's not a question of repeating the same thing every week, but members are actually taught how to be specific.
Yes,
to be able to look for different types of business.
For sure. There's a great saying that if you don't know specifically who you're looking for, how will I? And if you start saying, a classic one would be a jeweler. I'm looking for anybody that's getting married or getting engaged. The first thing I would say is, well, I assume that. So that was kind of wasting time. Secondly, if I'm going to be proactive for you, I can't start phoning all of my contacts and saying, are you going to get engaged? Are you? So ultimately, we teach you how that type of approach doesn't work. Many of our members can basically supply their materials or products or services to any sector. So again, we teach them about demographic, what type of person would use your service, what age group, where might they live, what industry would they be in. So this is a process that takes time, but it's very much part of our responsibility to educate.
So it's kind of target marketing, but very, very effective.
Yes, very much so.
Could you give us an example of a category of business, how they could vary their education slot each week?
Sure. Okay, well, let's say, for example, yourself as an estate agent, okay? You said before you'd like to be introduced to wills and probate. First of all, you could mention different companies each week, as you never know who your contacts know. So that would be an example of the same request, but a different person each week. What other industries would work well with you? For example, strategic alliances. So what other industries would know the same type of clients as you?
Financial advisors.
Great. So therefore you'll tell us another week of financial advisors, and again different ones, different sizes, what you can do for them. So there would be an example of someone of your quality. You'd love an introduction to somebody in wills and probate, you'd love an introduction to somebody in financial advice, and again there will be other industries. We call them strategic alliances or power teams, and again we'll help you to understand what you want. A lot of people don't know.
So a member would have the time before the meeting to educate and network with fellow members, possibly after the meeting. They've got 60 seconds, but sometimes members may feel that that's just not enough time to speak to everyone individually, to tell them more about what they do and maybe learn a bit more about what other members in the chapter do. So are there other events that are held outside of the meeting? Again,
at the networking meetings, we also have social events. Our great chapters will always have great social events because friendship is developed and friends basically do business with friends. When we give members the platform to speak for up to 60 seconds, a mistake that's very much made in the early days is people think, I only have 60 seconds, so I have to say everything. But the reality is people can't keep up the pace with the writing, so you have to say less and achieve more. I personally believe that the 60 seconds should be aimed at preparing the referral rather than necessarily being able to give everything out too quick. So it's just part of the process to develop business.
Do members meet one another separately to educate people on a one-to-one basis often?
Sure, we encourage that. We call them one-to-ones. And once a member has understood that it's not for BNI, it's something that they should incorporate in their normal business structure. In most businesses, you would think that business people should meet with somebody possibly new or develop a further relationship with an existing contact. That should be something that's regularly happening. But I often find that work gets in the way of success for most people because they get so busy, they kind of stop doing what it was that made them busy in the first place. So we encourage one-to-ones and development of relationship building outside of the formal structure.
And do you record the amount of meetings on a one-to-one that members have with one another?
Yes, we do. Again, because we encourage our members to use our product. Imagine going to the gymnasium because you want to get fit, and then 6 months later saying the gymnasium is not working. Okay? It would be foolish to think that, but people will hide behind that. So we encourage our members to record everything so that we can see where they need help and where they need support. If they're doing the things they should be doing and they're not working, then it's how they're doing it that would be the issue, and we would be able to locate that. So everything is recorded on behalf of our clients, yeah.
Do you think the structure of the meeting helps individuals to gain confidence? Firstly, you mentioned like 60 members, and some chapters may have a few more, a few less.
Yes.
But some individuals may have an issue, a confidence issue, to stand in front of 60 people and be able to present their 60 seconds.
Sure.
So do you think that the structure actually helps people to gain that confidence to be able to do that?
I think it has to, because I think if you're going to get involved, then there's no hiding. It's interesting you said people are frightened to speak in front of 60 people. You know, people are frightened to speak in front of 20 people. But part of this journey is the development to be able to do so. One of my real passions is when I visit a chapter and I see somebody that 6 months ago wouldn't have said boo to a goose, and now, just within their own style, they're just standing up and they're far more confident. And you know, people take these skills away from BNI and they develop a lot more business in their own company by using the skills that BNI can teach them. Great, great product.
Fantastic. Do you find that people abroad use BNI the same way as people use BNI in the UK? And do BNI members from the UK pass business to members in other countries?
Absolutely we do. We are a global product, and we have a worldwide system called BNI Connect. Every single member has the opportunity to register their details onto BNI Connect, and that means that your details are available to 160,000 BNI members worldwide. Many people emigrate and require services. Our members are known as go-to people. So on many occasions, they could get an inquiry from a member of family that's in India, if you like, and they'll say, who do you know that can help me here? And again, it's great for us to pass someone over to them that we trust, rather than risk basically going to somebody that you don't know. That's a risk.
Many viewers that watch this show from all over the world, a lot of them are Asians. I deal with a lot of people from India. If there is an individual watching the show today who requires a service, let's say in India, maybe to do with property, maybe litigation, are they able to look on the BNI website in India and be able to refer business to people over there?
Sure, sure. Again, I go to the fact that reputation is what people say about us. So please go onto the BNI website. You'll be able to see where your local chapter is, and therefore what kind of members are in there. And you'll be able to speak to somebody else, if you like, regarding their reputation. And that opportunity is available worldwide and growing.
And you can confidently refer business to these members?
Sure. What you will occasionally find that if you speak to somebody about another member, they may not be comfortable with them yet. That's just a reality, but they'll pass that information over to you so that you know you're safe.
Fantastic. I'd like to know a little bit about some success stories from BNI, from maybe some startup businesses that have started and flourished. Is there anything that you can share with us?
Well, we have many members that, as you know, the climate and the economy in the last few years, whilst getting much better now, has been challenging. So we have many members that their businesses have been saved by the physical money passed to them from their BNI members. Their lives have also been enriched by the personal development and support. How nice to be in a group where you could pick up the phone to a friend of yours that's a solicitor in the group and just ask for a bit of advice. You can just speak to the accountant. You can speak to other like-minded business people without fear of suspicion, what's going on, why you asking. So that support base is unreal, really. for myself, if I gave an example, when we had our flooring company, as with a lot of successful BNI members, they start to understand that actually they could consider putting other members of their sales team into other BNI chapters. And a lot of our successful members now have got many of their colleagues into other BNI chapters. The advantage of that is obviously increased business for their company, but not just that. Going back to the personal development, how fantastic that you could have members of your staff being trained by BNI and just watch their confidence develop. So many successful companies are now spreading and putting other members into other chapters. That's a very good move.
Just on that point, when people start a new business, or even people with existing businesses want to grow, most people would look at advertising in a newspaper, and most adverts in a newspaper may last a day or a week.
Yeah.
You may get calls, you may not. But how would you compare an investment with BNI as opposed to maybe a newspaper ad? Okay. So are you like buying into it like a team?
Sure. Well, I think there's a place for everything. So advertising has a place. Many people generate, quite a bit of business from advertising. I think the difference, as you said, with most adverts, you're perhaps next to your competitor, number one. Also, a lot of people that genuinely phone adverts will either have a contact and maybe they're just phoning somebody they don't quite know just for a comparison. Or they don't have a contact at all, and therefore they're just basically contacting the advert. So advertising works, but it's a harder conversion, whereas face-to-face and relationships and trust, that will never die. Online business is a great opportunity to expand, but online face-to-face, the touch, the feel, the sound, that'll never ever go away. So for me, the structure of a networking event, of a structured networking event, I think it's just a no-brainer in the way to do business.
How do you see BNI growing from here? Is there more chapters that are launching as we speak?
Yes, in fact, only this Friday at Luton Who, a pitch there I know, we have another one of our Hertfordshire and Bedfordshire groups launching. We have many new BNI groups being developed in all 52 regions of the country. So as we have done over the last 28 years, we will continue to grow and grow, and that's without any arrogance. We have 160,000 businesses worldwide as members only. We're still a secret.
Tell us about some of your chapters. Could you name some of your chapters that maybe visitors might want to go and visit?
Sure. Well, we have chapters all around the country. I'm very privileged. I support a very large chapter in Redbridge in London North East called Business for Business, B4B. They have in the region of 60 plus good quality local business people like your good self, that meet every single week at Fairlop Waters. The different categories are amazing to see. We have a very successful telecoms gentleman, IFA, car detailer, yourself as an estate agent, but seeing all these diverse groups of people and businesses help each other is a fantastic sight.
Excellent. Phil, it's been and talking about BNI. Phil, if the public want to get in touch with you to find out more, how can they get in touch with you?
Feel free to email me, phil@bni-lne.com. Feel free to send me a tweet, please, at Phil Berg 88. Our BNI national office is 01923 891 999 for help anywhere in the country. I'd say to anybody, just go and have a look at a meeting, see for yourself.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time today, Phil. उम्मीद है कि ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਅੱਜ ਦਾ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਚੰਗਾ ਲੱਗਾ ਹੋਊਗਾ। ਆਪਣੇ ਕਮੈਂਟਸ ਤੇ ਫੀਡਬੈਕ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਦੇਣਾ। ਅਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਾਂਗੇ ਅਗਲੇ ਹਫਤੇ। ਹੁਣ ਲਈ ਸਾਡੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ।